On today's collectible spot, we are having a look at the Hot Toys Man of Steel Jor-El 1/6 scale collectible figure. This is a collector's edition, MMS201, and features on the front of the package here, on the front of the box, a scene from Krypton. Featured at the very top is the House of El symbol, which will then later, of course, be used for Superman himself. But I really like the idea of this scene. The scene, by contrast to the original Christopher Reeve's Superman Krypton, where that being an ice planet, this reimagined Krypton was very much an organic planet, which I thought was a really interesting spin on the Superman mythos. That same image carries over to the sides of the box. Also indicated there is a slight overlaid image of the Superman S, which is also a really nice touch. On the back of the box, just some warning, choking hazard. Not, of course, being an adult collectible, this is not a toy. Recommended for ages 15 and up. Manufactured by Hot Toys Limited. Website there as well. You can follow them also at Facebook at www.facebook.com/Hot Toys. Certainly, they also have a Twitter as well. You can follow them over at Hot Toys there as well. On the top of the package, something that I really wanted to spend a lot of, well, not so much a lot of time, but I really want to mention, I love this chain link detailing that not only was carried over to the costumes in Man of Steel, but also carried over just in the overall design of like this box. On the top, actually, we just spin around the box there. It says Man of Steel there. And speaking of spinning around, we spin around the box. There's the magnet. This is actually a nice closed magnet. Nice and easy to get access to. We open up the box. On the inside, the cast and crew responsible for the sculpt and overall design of Jor-El. The head sculptor in this case was I'm Jun Hayek, I hopefully pronounced that correctly, and head painter J.C. Hong. That same design scheme that I was just talking about is carried over into the inside, and I really like also not only the link, the chain link that they've incorporated, but I love this blue. That choice of blue worked perfectly for the Superman costume. Having said that, what I am going to do is take a break. I'm going to certainly get this out of packaging, and when we come back, we're going to have a better look at the Man of Steel, Jor-El. There's more heading your way, guys. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Standing at 12 inches tall and over 30 points of articulation, Jor-El is a beautiful piece. Once again, Hot Toys has really captured not only the character that the Hot Toys piece is based from, but also the actor who portrayed the role. Not only did I think that Russell Crowe did a fantastic job as Jor-El, but I really think Hot Toys captured not only the strength of Jor-El, but I think also with his vulnerability. You can see that there is real compassion in the face of Jor-El. This head is a hand-painted piece, similar to the other pieces that they have produced, and right down to some of the detailing, such as the mole, the gray is also in his facial hair, are all captured in this hand-painted head. The sculpt on the hair is really top-notch. In fact, you can see all the individual hairs separated from one another, giving this overall fully sculpted hairpiece. It's hard to really imagine that looking at this from a distance, if you didn't know that this was a collectible piece, you would swear that this was actually a still taken from the movie. And that's how great Hot Toys is with some of the sculpts that they put into these pieces. He is featured in his Kryptonian robe, adorned with the Kryptonian armor. And once again, I like that this armor has a sense of techno-organicness to it, where it's not strictly just a military-style armor. You can see, even in the Superman S, now, we all know that this is the S itself that represents the House of El, but the fact that they've interwoven this detailing in it, something from a distance, it looks like just a standard armored piece until you look closer and realize that the S is still predominantly featured. The choice of coloring in the armor is a really nice color. It's almost like a brownish gold. And on top of that gold, there's this hint of a darker gray wash. They seem to have put it more so in the upper section of the armor, leaving more of the lighter color to show through in the S. That brings out really a lot of the details in the S as well as in the shoulder pads, or the shoulder sections of the armor. But that face is phenomenal. Jor-El also, you can see, is in his, well, the majority of the rest of his robe is this really nice brown stitched piece. And right down to the details of the robe itself, you can see where the individual creases of the fabric offset one another. In fact, they change their design when you start getting to the side panels than what they were in the front. Those panels are sectioned off by this really nice brownish gold lining, this panel lining that runs all the way down the middle of the robe and down the sides. Featured of the speaking of the sides, you can even see on the side underneath the robe is the traditional outfit that Superman would wear. I'm not too sure whether this suit would be something that they would wear at home, and perhaps this would get more to, this robe here would be something that they would wear more for ceremonial purposes, or certainly during any sort of debate summits or meetings, they would put on the robe representing their house. On the sides, you can see that there is some gauntlets, or kind of little shin plates here, or little wrist plates here from his robe. The robe is removable. There is actually a zipper right on the back here. Right down at the bottom there is a zipper that you could remove this robe. It doesn't look as if, though, the robe underneath, or the suit underneath, is nothing more than just the blue. I perhaps wondered if the Superman emblem, the house emblem, was represented underneath the robe, but it doesn't appear to. It's just a straight out blue, the blue suit. But that blue suit, though missing the emblem, still has that chain link design featured in the fabric. Something that I appreciate here, and only more makes me look forward to the Man of Steel Superman when he is eventually released. That trim carries over again down, which was carried over in the front, carries over to the side in the opening where you can see that undersuit. On the back of the figure, he features his cape, a nice almost cranberry brownish red cape with the individual seam lines that make up the robe itself. It's got a very prestigious look to it, where it's not just strictly a cape, it's definitely got a lot of textured contours to it. The cape itself is wire framed, so you can manipulate the cape to your desire by just bending the side wire pieces that run along the outer sides of the cape. Down below, it doesn't have the wire frame, but all the sculpting and all the posing that you would want to do can be done on the sides. And depending on really how your preference is, you can have it where it's got this nice billowing effect. On the bottoms of Jor-El, once again, boots that you will probably see more custom with the Superman than when we eventually get him. In this case, they are black, but on Superman they will be red. And on the undersides, he's got the sole pieces. Now this feels more like a rubbery piece versus the fabric that would make up the undersuit that he's wearing. Articulation on Jor-El. Now again, he has over 30 points of articulation. His head does rotate up, down, left, right. His shoulders move forward, back, out. They're slightly hindered because of the armor plates on the shoulders, but it's not too bad. You can move it to about there on either one of them, give or take to about there. It does have a rotation in the elbow, a double bend in the elbow. He has a rotation and pivot in the hand, like so. He has the upper torso crunch and a rotation in the wrist, in the waist. Again, slightly restrained by the fact that he's got the robe on there. His legs go forward, back, out. He has a rotation in the thigh, a double bend at the knee, and a pivot hinge in the foot. It is not to say that you wouldn't be able to pose Jor-El if you wish, but because of what the character he is representing in the movie, really just a very stoic, even hands out, or even what I might end up doing when I eventually get the Man of Steel, is I'll just probably have like a hand of Jor-El on the side shoulder of Superman. For your consideration, Jor-El does come with several accessories. Just put Jor-El there for a second. The accessories included, for starters, the main larger piece. He does come with a display base, featuring the House of El on the front there, in a almost like a brownish gold coloring. You probably have seen this pole. He's actually got an extension pole that I'm happy to say screws into the base. Versus some of the other Superman pieces that we've got, whether it be the Man of Steel Superman or the Christopher Reeve Superman, both of which had to be, you had a clear pole that was pushed into this hole that was in the display base. And I found it was a little harder to manipulate. This, luckily, you can see the spindles, threads of the screw. You actually just screw it into this hole here. On the front, featured Man of Steel Jor-El. And having a look quickly at this, at the pole itself, it is flexible. Something else that was a step up from the original just straight clear poles, which is a really nice touch. I'm not bothered at all either by the fact that it's a black piece, a black pole versus a clear pole, because for me it lends itself more to it being a more industrial Superman base and not so much a more natural style of base. It's still got the clip on the side, so you can clip it onto the waist of the figure. Though for Jor-El, I wouldn't have him necessarily flying, but I like that the option is there that I could do it if I wanted to, and then I can just manipulate this pole depending on how I want it. Other accessories that he does come with 3 pairs of hands. Currently, he does have the open hands in the figure itself, but other hands that he does come included with are more closed hands. One really ideally set and made for the Kryptonian rifle, which we'll look at in a second. He does also have 2 closed fists. But for me, again, I like to display them probably more so with the hands open, but having closed fists are always a nice inclusion too. You get yourself, once again, these secondary pegs. You get 2 extra pegs for the hands, so if something happens to either of them, you have backups. You get yourself a Kryptonian rifle, which once again has that real techno-organic look to it. It doesn't quite look like something that would have been produced in a factory. It almost looks like something that would have been grown, and I say that, but it does have a more organic look to it. There is scripture on the side of the rifle, as well as on the top of the rifle, probably a Kryptonian scripture that I'm unable to decipher for you, but some really nice paint in the rifle itself. On top of this beigeish gray that they've got in there, there's a couple of added washes of the red, a little bit of gray there as well, and then more of a military gray making up the rest of the rifle. And lastly, though controversy I'm sure involved, and a lot of people probably didn't care for this, he does also come with the Codex, the Kryptonian Codex, or database of all the culture and individuals that lived on Krypton. To preserve the way of life and the culture on Krypton, Jor-El stole the Codex and bestilled it upon his son, Kal-El. But some nice detailing in there. It's like of a dark, I want to say it's like a dark golden color, and then offset with this lighter gold in the creases and wrinkles and little indentations of the skull. On one side it's open chasm of the skull, and on the outside closed there. But really nice piece indeed. I'm very, very happy with how Jor-El turned out. He's one of those figures that I was looking so forward to the Superman on his way, and I think by getting Jor-El first, it's a good way to get us more excited for Man of Steel, for Superman when he arrives. The sculpt is beautiful. The armor and everything else is painted extremely well, and I think I'm very happy with how they turned out and how they produced this robe. He is available. Certainly through, you can pick them up through Sideshow Collectibles. Spot's going to provide the link down below. And as with all the other Hot Toys pieces, the one benefit of it is the Hot Toys pieces themselves, you can pay by installments. So Spot paid well, with this particular piece and some of the other pieces, I was able to pay them through installments. So if you don't have sufficient dinero at the time, you can certainly pay them like 3 or 4 different installments until Jor-El comes to your door. He is definitely a very beautiful piece, and again, only makes me more excited to get my hands on Superman. Today's collectible spot, we were having a look at the Hot Toys Man of Steel 1/6 scale Jor-El. Stay tuned, Spot's going to have more collectible spots and more Hot Toys reviews heading your way. Thanks for watching. See you next time.